Hey guys, another episode of Pro Football Tailgater. I'm Chris Rowe, and this is my list of tight ends that I believe are going to be top 10 finishes this year. Now, all of these tight ends are undeniably consistent through their talent and situation. The thing about the tight end is tight ends are, well, there's not many of them. There's only about 10 of them that are going to be relevant unless they're going to be a week-to-week streamer. If they're a week-to-week streamer, they're not going to be on this list. They're just not. That's not what I'm interested in. Remember, what we're looking for is to make a roster that will make you consistent high fantasy output week to week. Not just boom games. Consistent volume is the name of the game. To win every week and to raise your statistical outcome to a winning percentage. In other words, these are the players that I am bought in that I believe are going to give you the best chance to win your fantasy leagues this year. If there's a player missing on this list, it is because I do not believe they will have the chance to be consistent every week. They might have boom games, they might, flash a little bit for a couple of games, but these are players that I think are going to be consistent this year. Number one, we are looking for tight ends that can score anywhere from 10 to 15 points minimum a game consistently. Consistently is the name. Consistently. So, usually there's kind of a soft cap for elite tight end production from 900 to 1,200 yards. And what we're looking for is a tight end that is either number 1 or number 2 air target on their offense. Their QB has to be consistent for them. This position is dependent on a QB position that is consistent as well. So we want to make sure that the OC, the scheme, the quarterback, that they're all very consistent and they're all kind of in a system that is going to work for them. So with that said, let's get into it. My first sous chef is Tucker Kraft. Yes, I'm ranking him number 1. There's lots of reasons why. Number 1, his average over his career is 12.5 points per game over his whole career. But last year in 2025, he was averaging 14.7 points per game. Then he got injured. After he got injured, obviously he didn't produce much, but that's what he was producing in 2025. He was the number 2 tight end through the first 3 weeks, meaning Jordan Love was hyper targeting this guy. He was their offense. Of course, they didn't have Christian Watson at that time. And now you can say with Romeo Doubs being out of town, they also let Dotavian Wicks go. You got a lot less pass catchers in the offense. So now, dude's going to eat. He's the short to intermediate throws. When Jordan Love is, panicking or when a play develops, usually they're going to look to the short to intermediate throws. Tucker Kraft is a baller. If you watch any of the games last year or even the year before, he's a straight stud. He will be able to shake pretty much any linebacker they're going to put on him or strong safety. The guy knows how to ball. He has a 32.3 target share when he's on the field. That includes 2025 or 2024 season. And his QB and the offensive scheme has not changed whatsoever. However, Matt LaFleur has been talking about their scheme change, that they're going to go from a run heavy into a pass heavy. So he's looking to change the scheme a little bit. I don't know if that has to do with Josh Jacobs or anything like that, but this could be the key to unlocking Tucker Kraft's value here. If he's already got a 32% target share, I imagine it's only going to go up. I know Christian Washington's going to stretch the field. They're hoping that Golden, pans out. But right now, Tucker Kraft is the guy. He's going to be their number one or number two, depending on Christian Watson. Christian Watson hasn't really given a full elite fantasy season, and Tucker Kraft is getting over injury, but I don't see why he can't dominate. He looks like he's going through OTAs and he'll be ready for mini camp. I don't see why he can't go back to his full form. So with Josh Jacobs being volatile with his legal issues, Tucker Kraft will get fed. I expect, my personal expectation, I expect 16 points per game. That's what he was averaging before the injury, and I expect it to be around 16 points per game. Maybe 14 to 16, but that's where you want it. That's elite tight end. And that's where we're hoping that he's going to be at by the time first week rolls around. So you got Tucker Kraft in I think he's going like in the 5th round or something like that. That to me is amazing value, especially like if you're going to go by my ranks. He's number one. You're picking him in the 5th over the other tight ends. You're going to be able to get some other guys in the 2nd and 3rd where the other tight ends are going, and Tucker Kraft is going to have this number one finish. That's what I think, and I feel really confident about that. Get him. Don't worry about your league mates. Don't be surprised. I mean, I don't think it's going to be like a crazy... Nobody's going to say anything, but you're going to laugh all the way to the bank when he's making 15 points a game. So for my next tight end, reigning tight end champ from 2025, I had him on several of my teams. I've been a Trey McBride stan since his first breakout year on the Cardinals. He was great in the back half of his first year. In 2025, he had a 27.39 target share and a 29.34 in 2024. I mean, that is beyond elite usage for a tight end. They had him in a system where they just trusted him. They trust what he was doing. He's athletically gifted. The guy's he I mean, look at the picture I got behind me. He's hurdling over people. The dude knows how to ball. They did have a coaching change. Mike LaFleur, he's bringing his OC system that comes from the Shanahan, Sean McVay tree of goodies. He's bringing that, and I understand that he's a tight end, and really they focus on wide receivers a lot, but they're going to throw to where the talent's at. Tucker Kraft, he is in a current LaFleur system, and Trey McBride is going to be in a new LaFleur system. He's the talent on that team. I know they got Marvin Harrison, and I know that Wilson kind of came up last year, but Trey McBride is the definition of safety blanket. It doesn't really matter who's at quarterback, especially since it's short to intermediate throws, or mostly the tight end. It's almost like a slot receiver. Trey McBride can ball, and he's going to earn the trust of whatever quarterback he gets, whether it's Carson Beck, the back half of the year after they give up on Brissett, or even Minshew. Jacoby Brissett is best for his value. Minshew can theoretically sustain elite numbers. He's been around. He's a journeyman at this point. But it's probably going to go down if Beck, he's kind of a question mark as far as usage goes. There's not really any statistics or anything I can pull up in college. But rookies are very volatile. If Beck somehow starts and does well, I'm almost positive he's going to use Trey McBride anyways. So he's not going to flatline his value. you're going to get consistent numbers throughout the whole year. It may not be completely consistent. It might come down a peg or two with Beck, but that's okay. He was averaging 18 to 19 points per game last year. I expect that to come down a little bit with the new system. It's going to be more balanced, going to be more run heavy. So I'm expecting 14 to 15 points per game, which is still elite. He might not have a career year or even like a record year like he did last year, but the guy's still going to be elite probably for the next couple of years at least. I know everybody's scared off. He does have round 2 value, round 2 ADP. I would say that since the tight end, there aren't many players, you want to lock up that extra position. You're waltzing in week to week with at least 10 to 15 point advantage every week by taking Trey McBride. There's going to be other wide receivers and there's other running backs you can pick up that are going to make up for you not getting the elite in the second round. You can pick up Trey McBride and automatically have an advantage over your teammates. So I would recommend picking up Trey McBride no matter what. If you choose to get him in the second, or if you choose to get one of these other tight ends, you should be fine. But he's definitely going to give you elite usage and elite upside. So for my next one, this might be kind of a surprise, but I really think he's going to make a year 2 leap. That is Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is just as athletically gifted as Trey McBride. He's not quite as tall, but the guy is a beast. 25 to 31% target share on his team before the Daniel Jones injury. That's more than elite usage, just like I talked with Trey McBride. He's going to get fed because Daniel Jones, he's got an injury that he's recovering from. Who knows if he can sling it down the field? Michael Pittman's gone. Alec Pierce is injured. He had some sort of ankle thing, I think surgery, something like that. He might not be ready for week 1. He might not be ready for a couple of weeks. Could be 4 to 6 weeks. And then there's a ramp-up period in there. So you're talking about Josh Downs and Tyler Warren, which makes Tyler Warren a top 2 offensive weapon in his offense. He averaged 13 to 14 points per game last year before Daniel Jones. I think it's only going to go higher because Michael Pittman's gone. The scheme is still the same. Shane Steichen is expected to target him in the top 2, like I said. And his rushing upside, okay, he had rushing upside in college. He had an 8.4 yard per attempt and scored 4 rushing touchdowns. I think that now, since he's now going to be considered a veteran in his second year, they're going to be able to unlock him if Shane Steichen so believes so. They might use him all over the field in different ways. I think that Shane Steichen is smart enough to say, okay, you got your first year under your belt, you got our system, let's start working out some different stuff now. Let's start breaking you out because I think you got what I gave you so far down. Let's go ahead and start utilizing rushing upside. Count them, 2 rushing touchdowns next year, I think. Tyler Warren's going to be a great value too. He's going around 5, 6, something like that. If you're able to pick him up in those rounds, that would be a great value because he's going to give you top elite upside. And you're getting him in a somewhat later round than the top elite tight ends, like even Trey McBride. So I would be targeting him, or I am going to be targeting him this year, because there are some round 2 guys that I want to pick up. So in some leagues I'll do Trey McBride, in some leagues I'll do Tyler Warren. But either one's going to be a value. I expect him to maintain anywhere from 13 to 15 points per game in 2026. So, pick him up. For my next, this will probably, maybe his position might surprise you, but everybody's thinking he's going to be the number one tight end this year. I have him as my 4th overall tight end. The reason being is because, well, Brock Bowers is also coming off an injury. New coach, new scheme. Their offensive line is getting healthier, new quarterback. So there's a couple things about that. In 2024, when he had his breakout season, he was averaging 15.5 points per game. He had a 25.8 target share in 2024. Clint Kubiak's bringing a system. It's a better offense for sure, which means it's going to be more balanced. However, there's going to be a cap on their talent at the wide receiver position. So yes, wheels up for Brock Bowers. He's going to be 1 or 2 in the target tree. There's not really any receivers. They did pick up Jalen Naylor, which I think will be more talented than people think. I don't think he's a career backup. I think that he could be, a number 1, number 2 receiver. I think he's going to get more targets than you think he is. They're going to develop Jack Besh, which Jack Besh is supposed to be a really good slot receiver in college. And just the last regime didn't utilize anything at all. Didn't look at Jack Besh and think anything of him. They might unlock him this year, so there might be more competition than you think. And then you got Trey Tucker, who's stretching the field out in order to make Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers work. So there's going to be more balanced offense than you think. It's not going to be 100% just Brock Bowers. And that's why he's a little lower. I'm not 100% thinking that he's just going to get such a massive load of work that he's going to end up at number 1. I really think that Brock Bowers is going to be around number 4, which is still going to be elite. You still want him because whether his quarterback is Kirk Cousins or Mendoza, Cousins averages 12.4 points per game. These are all PPR numbers with Kyle Pitts catching from him, and he averaged around 6 to 7 targets a game. And Mendoza has a target share of 25 to 30%, which is elite usage towards his tight end, but it came out to about 6 or 7 targets per game as well. So you're looking at 6 to 7 targets per game to Brock Bowers. Maybe on a great game it'd be 9 targets, but that's about consistency, whether it be Mendoza or Cousins. They're both going to target Brock Bowers about the same. I expect him to be anywhere from 12 to 14 points per game based off of the quarterback, based off of this game, based off of history. Yes, he's talented, but it's all about usage. It's all about offensive schemes. They're all new. So I would give it a little bit of time, and I expect him to be around the 4th tight end all year. So hopefully all those reasons you are hearing what I'm saying, and you're kind of catching my drift. This is where I think he's going to be at, honestly. I don't think it's crazy to say that. Everybody's throwing out their bold predictions. I really think that's where he's going to end up at. So, moving on to the next hot name this year is Colston Loveland. Now, Colston Loveland has got all the makings of a really good tight end. In 2025, overall, he averaged 10.32 points per game. This is Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson. Yes, I understand that number's probably skewed because the back half of the season, he did pretty good late in the season. He was averaging 17.2 points per game and 25.6 target share from weeks 16 to 20. So I understand if you bake in the early season with the late season, that's kind of what is coming out to be 10 spread over the 17 games, or I think it was like 19 games, with the playoffs. If it's spread over that, I understand. I'm not trying to skew the numbers or anything like that, but here's the thing. I'm lower on Loveland than everybody else. I expect Ben Johnson to have a more balanced offense. The same reasons why I said about Brock Bowers. You just can't only target this guy. And like I said, tight ends have kind of a cap. Around 1,200 yards is like primo supreme tight end, when you're talking about wide receivers, a really, really good wide receiver is like 1,400 to 1,700, I think, was JSN last year. It just depends. I think he'll be in the top 2 target share, obviously. Sam Laporta had a great season under Ben Johnson. I think he was in 2023 under Ben Johnson, he did 13 points per game and had 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. That was the breakout season. That's the one that everybody still references back in Sam Laporta, and they're like, Sam Laporta, awesome. That was under Ben Johnson. That's how much he got fed. I think Colston Loveland, I think that's more realistic of where he's going to be at. So kind of temper your expectations. Yes, to the moon. But no, not to the moon. He would have to have some amazing, ridiculous season. And I just feel like the defenses in their division can handle Colston Loveland still a little bit better than what you think. Yes, he had a breakout. Yes, because Roma Dunze was injured. Yes, because what's his name was still a rookie. I'm forgetting his name. Burden was still a rookie. So he was still getting his leg under his breakout game where he did 27 points. That was my championship in one of them and won me my league. Guy was tired. He was tired on the back half of that game. He couldn't run any routes like at the end of that game. They pulled him out. Colston Loveland was kind of more the game plan. I think that this year Ben Johnson through OTAs, through minicamp, I think that he's going to develop those players to be more balanced. The whole offense is going to be more balanced. But I think Colston Loveland is going to be one of the top 2 out of his offense. I think Luka their Burden's going to be number 1 or Colston Loveland as far as the share goes. I just think Dunze is going to take a step back in his career, and he's going to be a great number 2. Mainly because of the injury and the usage, things like that. I just think that those 2 are going to be the top 2. And so Colston Loveland is on this list. He is still top 6. So I expect it to be more of a realistic 13 to 14 points per game with some boom upside weeks, obviously. Like, you know, he might pull down 25 points in 2-week span or something like that, depending on who he plays. But that's where I think he's going to be at. So he's on this list. Pick him up. He'll still help you guys, give you an advantage marching into your week-to-week tournaments. All right, for my next tight end, I really think this guy is going to take a step up, just like Tyler Warren. And that's just because I think he's pure talent. Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin is a catching tight end, and pretty much only that. Yes, he does do some blocking, but he is mainly catching tight end. He's built like a fullback, but the guy's got talent like streaming out of his ears. With inconsistent quarterback play, last year per game was 9.0 points per game. But I think that's gonna change, because they had some down games, up down games, but it was pretty consistent. You could scratch him in for 9 points a game. I think it's gonna change though. I think he's gonna take a step up. Todd Monken is now their head coach. He featured Mark Andrews in Baltimore for several years that he was there. He was there like 2 years. And Mark Andrews averaged anywhere from 11 to 13.5 points per game from 2023 to 2024. And in each of those seasons, he ended up with a tight end 5 and a tight end 7 on the year. I think Harold Fannin is comparable to Mark Andrews. I think that this guy is really talented. I think he can sustain that pretty easily, to be honest, even with inconsistent quarterback play. You want him to be paired up with Sanders because Watkins, or Watson, I should say, not Watkins. Watson is a bit of a question mark. He's coming off of multiple ACL tears, so you don't know where he's gonna throw it. He was really a wide receiver type of thrower when he was in Houston. In the Browns, he's been really inconsistent, so you don't really know. But I do have I have some numbers. Sanders, he averaged 14.6 points per game with a target share of 29%. Sanders was looking for him. He has chemistry with them. So if he starts with Sanders, expect him to be the guy. If he starts with Deshaun Watson, historically he's a 15 to 18% target share over his career targeting tight ends. So it's going to be a little lower. Well, not a little. 29% versus 18. That's much lower. So we're hoping that Todd Monken kind of like pushes Watson and says, hey, look at Harold Fannin. Look at how that guy's talented. Look for him, man. That's what I'm hoping. Just because Todd Monken knows ball, he's a good OC. He's going to be able to it's going to look like an old Baltimore offense. Lots of running, then tight end targets in the red zone. I think Harold Fannin is going to take a jump up. So I expect a floor of 10 to 11 points a game with upside of a 14 to 15 points per game consistently. I'm betting a step up those boom numbers are more consistent than his floor. But his floor, you can pencil him in from 10 to 11 points per game, which is great. That's a consistent floor that you can always count on, and you don't have to be streaming a tight end. I guarantee you it looks volatile, but I don't think it is. It's not going to be that volatile this year, guys. So for my next guy, this is an old Ben Johnson alumni, Sam Laporta. That year that he broke out, and it might come around again. Just because of who they got there. They got a new OC, Drew Petzing. Yes, Drew Petzing of Cardinals. Petzing's been there for about 3 years. And that happened to be the span in which Trey McBride was there. Trey McBride has been hyper-targeted since he come in the league. He was injured for his first half of his rookie season. Then he had a breakout. And then they really started pushing on Trey McBride. So he has coached an offense for the last 3 years, making Trey McBride relevant. He was TE9 in 2023. He was TE4 in 2024. And he was TE1 last year. Obviously, he broke some records. Guy's talented as heck. Sam Laporta's pretty talented. Drew Petzing's probably going to start focusing on Sam Laporta a little bit. So expect some of the OC schemes to look like old Cardinal schemes, and expect for Laporta to get targeted. So I don't have him as elite, but I have him as a step up, seeing as how last year he averaged 10.9 points per game. That was under a Drew Campbell, or I'm sorry, that was under Campbell and whatever the OC. He's not there anymore, so it doesn't matter. When Campbell had him too, he averaged 10 points a game. It wasn't great. That's not awesome, but he is in line for a boost. So many offensive weapons. He still has a chance to be number 2 in targets. And as of now, he has an 18.6% behind Amon-Ra St. Brown's 28 to 31%. So he still has a chance to be a top 2 target. It's not going to change too much, but expect him to get targeted more in the end zones and stuff like that. He'll get a boost. He'll get a bump. If it rises to 20%, we could be looking anywhere from 12 to 14 points per game consistently, which would be great. Same things I just talked about, Harold Fannin. He has a chance to boom on the rest of the year. For my next guy, this guy's going to a new home because he followed his coach. It's Isaiah Likley. Isaiah Likley, new team, same coach, John Harbaugh. Harbaugh likes this guy. He really, really likes Isaiah Likley. I like this guy. I've picked him up before. Mark Andrews was injured. When Mark Andrews was injured and it was just him, he averages 12 to 14 points a game over his career. He's only played in the Ravens so far, so 12 to 14 without Mark Andrews, that might be incumbent of what he's going to do in New York. Because John Harbaugh's there, you're going to get similar offensive schemes that John Harbaugh has been running over there. I know I just talked about Drew Petzing. No, I'm sorry. I know I just talked about with Harold Fannell, Todd Monken. But like I said, Harbaugh likes him. They're going to target him. Matt Nagy is the offensive coordinator under John Harbaugh. I'm not a big fan of Matt Nagy's schemes. I just don't think that they work overall. But for our purposes and what we're talking about in this video, Isaiah Likley, he targets the tight ends at a 30% when he was at the Chiefs, meaning he kept Travis Kelce relevant. Travis Kelce is kept relevant because of that 30% target share. I'm pretty sure Isaiah Likley has some talent in the tank that he's able to capitalize on a 30% target share. When Nagy was with the Bears and he was utilizing Trey Burton, he was at 18%. It raised when he started using Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham. He prefers the tight end position when he has a talented tight end like Isaiah Likley. Targets. Jackson Dart targets the position. He targeted in 2025 22%. So you're seeing from 18 to 22. You're seeing that without Mark Andrews, it's 12 to 14 points per game. It looks like he might be able to maintain 10 to 13 points per game consistently. And if Dart stays clean in the pocket and he doesn't hesitate like he used to, that's kind of what he was doing, and then he was taking off running. I think that Harbaugh doesn't want Dart running, to be honest. I think he probably has nightmares about Lamar running and getting injured, and he's like, hey, let's not have our second year player Jackson Dart getting injured by running all the time. So you're talking about a lot more intermediate throws, design plays to the tight end. I think that he can maintain that 10 to 13 points. So again, we're talking about consistency, guys. That's what we're looking for. You want to go into your matchups with a 10-point advantage at least. And speaking of 10-point advantage, Dalton Kincaid is the next one. He has a chance to step up here. He had a really poor showing through 12 games in 2025. He was also doing 10.5 points per game through 12 games. And he got some injuries. His OC is Pete Carmichael. Pete Carmichael spent 17 seasons with the Saints. If you know anything about Saints tight ends, he utilized the tight ends, whether they were ultra talented, elite, like a Jimmy Graham. In that era, he was targeting Jimmy Graham anywhere from 22 to 26%. Anything above 20 is pretty elite for a tight end, anyways. If he keeps the Jimmy Graham era target share of 22 to 25%, expect him to be consistently 11 to 12 points per game. Carmichael coach Ben Watson, Jared Cook, and Kobe Fleener. He targeted those players at 16 to 20%. Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill, it was 15 to 18%. Kincaid, as of right now, in his past, not with Carmichael, just overall, has a 22.5% target share. If he keeps up that target share, and Jimmy Graham type target share, basically 22 to 26, he could at least draw a 9 to 11 points per game. It's really difficult to know how this is going to shake out because DJ Moore got picked up by Buffalo. So the targets are going to be a little all over the place. You're not sure who's going to be the main eater. It's either going to be Dalton or it's going to be DJ Moore. Or it's going to be Khalil Shakir. Dalton has the chance to be top 2, but it's not guaranteed. So that's why I kind of keep him at 9 to 11 points at a 22% target share. He's going to have a decent year at least. It's going to be better than what he had last year. I'll put it that way. So he's on this list for a reason. He's going to give you that advantage. It's not going to be a streaming option. Dalton Kincaid is going to work. For my next player, I think this guy's going to return to form. Mark Andrews. I don't think he's going to be as elite as he's been, but he's going to be better than what he was last year. Whatever Todd Monken was doing last year, Mark Andrews was coming off an injury. There was kind of confusion the way the offense was working. It was mostly a run scheme. It might change. He had a 17.20% target share in 2025, and that was with 7.7 points per game. So that's your floor, but I don't think it is. I think it's going to raise a little bit. They picked up Declan Doyle as their OC. Declan Doyle was a quarterback, and he used to be under the Bears OC, Ben Johnson. And he was an ex-tight ends coach for the Broncos and offense assistant for the Saints, both for Sean Payton. We just talked about Carmichael being under Sean Payton as well all those years for 17 at the Saints, and he utilizes the tight end position. I think it's going to raise up just a little bit more than what it's been. They're going to reload. Lamar Jackson's not going to be he's not going to be injured at all. He's going to be fresh, and they're going to reload a new offense that is going to benefit Mark Andrews. They don't have very many. There, you got Flowers, and I forget what even the other wide receiver's name is. Mark Andrews still going to be top 2 targets in the offense. Derrick Henry really doesn't catch passes. Zay Flowers is going to be number 1. Mark Andrews is going to be number 2. That's just what it's going to be. In 2025, the Bears targeted the tight ends 25.6 to 28.6 from week 16 to the 20th. That's Declan Doyle. He was the OC over there. He was making that call with Ben Johnson. Colston Loveland was benefiting. Mark Andrews will benefit from the scheme. They utilize a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, so the tight end will be on the field for sure. They're all going to be on the field at once. He has potential to be the top target or top 2 target, at least in the red zone for Lamar Jackson. He trusts him in the red zone, even though he's had some horrible drops. I just feel like Mark Andrews is going to return to some version of himself. Maybe not elite overall number 1 pick at one point, but he's definitely going to garner a little bit more, at least to be in top 10. I expect for Mark Andrews to consistently draw 10 to 11 points per game this year. That's what I said. That's what I think is going to happen. Pick him up. Everybody else is a TE streamer week to week. You don't know what they're going to produce. They're all way too volatile. You might have some boom games. That'd be nice, but these are consistent. Consistent guys that you waltz into your matchups with 10 points in your pocket already. All right? That's just what it is. The tight end position is going to get you that advantage. And there's going to be some guys that are going to they're going to punt on that. And you're going to win those games. All right? So pick up these tight ends. That's what it is. I call them sous chefs because we had, cooks in the last one, uncoverable. These are sous chefs. These are second in targets. They're going to get it. So that's what I got for today. Keep an eye out for my other videos. I should be doing quarterback soon. And I'll be going through draft positioning, best drafts, strategies, things like that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, if you got any comments for me, any suggestions, anything like that, go ahead and put them in the comments below. And, you guys know all the things. You guys have YouTube before. If you stick around, I do food. You guys are going to see a lot of food, hence why I am the Pro Football Tailgater. So I'll be doing some food because it is a feature every Sunday around my house. I watch football, I cook. So you're going to get some of that. All right. Other than that, that's it, bud. We'll see you in the next one. Later.